guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster, and I thought we would do a little bit more work on our little guy from a branch today. Now I'm outside on a lovely spring day, and I thought I'd just soak up some sunshine while I did it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus today on this little chap's head, and more so his face. I'm going to try and put the eyes, the nose and the mouth in. I might do a bit of tidying up work as well, and we'll see if we can get him practically done to all intents and purposes, apart from a little bit of tidying up work towards the end. So I'm going to move the camera around just a little bit to get to a better position to show you what I'm going to do, and we'll make a start. Right guys, so we're going to start off with my Mora, and what I want to do is get the definition of the head in. So you'll notice there is still a little line down the front here, and what I want to do is just bring that together so it joins, and it will help to round out the face a little bit as well. Just work at it from both sides like so, just so we bring it pretty much to sort of a triangular point. So that, where are we? So it's a bit bright out here, very difficult to see this screen. So that's that done. You can work on these sides here as well. You can kind of round these down a little bit now as well, because we've finished with using this as kind of just a point to aim for. And really this is where you start defining what your face is going to look like. Now I've still not really decided what this little chap's going to look like once he's completed. That's fine, we don't need to worry about that yet. You know, obviously if you're trying to base it off of an individual person, this is where you'll start shaping it to look a little bit more like them. Now the next step is I want to take my knife, and about a third of the way down this triangular point here, I want to make an upwards cut, and it's again going to leave a bit of a triangular section. Now I normally try and do this in one if I can. If not, you've got a chance to tidy it up. So we're about a third of the way down, and one quick cut, and we now have this. Now that's not quite as wide as I want it to be, so I'm just going to take my knife and just tidy it up a little bit, extend it up a little bit more, and essentially just widen it. And what you're left with is something that looks like this. Now I appreciate this doesn't look very face-like at the moment, and that is just about to change. So I'm going to put my Mora away. You can do it with this, but I'm going to take out my little Ben Orford engraver because I like this knife so much. It's a really nice little knife. And firstly I'm going to put in the nose. So a couple of millimeters under where this little triangular point here joins the front, I'm just going to put a little cut, so you want to get some pressure with the back of your thumb and just put in a bit of an indentation, and you'll see there it almost looks like we've got a little smile. Now at this stage, this is where you define your mouth, and you can either come in really close to that line and have a really narrow mouth, or you can come in much further down and have a much wider mouth. I'm going to do something in between. Let me see if I can get this on camera for you. Let's say about here. So what you want to do is come in at about a 45-degree angle and just join the two cuts up. And let me just tidy that up just a little bit. So here you can see we've now got the basis for both the mouth and also our nose, and we can tidy that up later. We can make it thinner or wider depending on how we want. But really what I want to look at now are the eyes, and it's essentially the same process, except we're going to be using this line here and this line here. Now if you bear with me just a second, I want to move the camera around just a little bit, see if I can find a better angle for you. So hopefully this is all making sense so far, and what I want to do, you've got this line up here as I said, and this line here, and I want to come in at probably not quite a 45-degree angle and just press down, not quite as deeply as I did on the mouth, and the same on the other side. Try and keep them in line if you can, and then from the bottom upwards just cut up and remove that piece. Now that's probably not quite as deep as I want it, so I'll go a little bit deeper, and then the same on the other side. You can always come back here and just work out the pieces that you don't need. And that essentially forms the basis of our eyes. So hopefully you can see there, we now have, you know, a much better sort of face shape in there, and I appreciate this is pretty basic, but actually when we come to paint this, if I decide to paint it for this series, you know, this gives us the definition we need to put the eyes, either some teeth or a tongue or some lips or something in there, and really, you know, you can just start refining this head shape down. You've got the crown of the head here, which you can, you know, if you don't want it too angular, you can just start rounding that off now. The next thing I want to do is I want to make a little gap here for where the ears would be, just because it gives the head a little bit more definition. And what I'm going to do in order to make that happen, again using this knife, I like to have it in line with the shoulder because that's roughly where they are on a person. And I'm just going to come in at an angle from both sides. Bear with me, I may need to do this slightly off camera for you. And then just work that out with the point of your knife, like so, and you can see we now have a little gap, which is essentially where the ears would be. Now I'll tidy these up later on. I'll just do the other side for you very quickly. It's not the easiest thing to do whilst trying to show you on the camera, but there you go. And just work out that little triangular wedge, and you'll notice a lot of this, you know, is wedge shapes. So we've got that there. Again, I can tidy it up later, but we now have a bit more of a face. Now I'm not too keen on this chin. I think it's a little bit too deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in from above, just put a bit of a line down there to square it off, come in from the bottom to take that off. And this is where, as I say, you can work your way around and make this as detailed and as intricate and whatever shape you really want. And I think for now that will probably do. And all I really want to do now is where you've still got this little line in the front here, just going to smooth that down so it's not quite so pointed. Round it out a little bit. And that's our face. Now the lines up here that join up the eyes, you can smooth these down as much or as little as you like. I like to leave them sort of relatively defined. Just put a bit of definition on there. And then with the nose, it's entirely up to you. I quite like these pointed prominent noses. I think they stand out better on the character, but you can smooth them down if you want, or you can come from sort of one side and remove just a little bit of material to make them even more prominent. I think that's what we'll do here. And that's probably about it for the face, at least for the time being. Now, last couple of things I want to do today. I want to smooth down this little back piece here, because people don't generally tend to have completely flat bottoms like this. And for that, just going to smooth away. Going to start off with quite an angular sort of cut, just because it's easier to make it that way at the beginning, and then gradually round that out. Doesn't have to go all the way to the base. You just really want to be making it a bit more rounded, bit more pronounced. And again, I've said this before in the other episodes, you can spend as much or as little time as you like on this. I'm quite a big fan of keeping things quite simple and basic. That's how I like them to look. But you know, if you want to spend some time and put a lot more detail in there, you're more than welcome to do so. You'll also notice that since the last episode, I've separated the feet, and I've just put a little line around there to denote the shoes and another line to denote the bottom of the trousers. Haven't decided how I'm going to go with that yet. I'll probably just put another little line around here, truth be told. And what I want to look at now is the front of this little guy. So I think I'm going to have him wearing something like a jacket and a shirt. So these kind of sweeping cuts that we did very early on work really, really well to define things like a jacket. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to bring that in slightly just to tidy it up. And the next bit really, so jacket I think is okay. This little section that we have here will differentiate between the jacket and the shirt, and then where we've got this section where we've removed the head from the body, what I want to do, we've got this kind of rather defined line around here which I don't like, so what I'm going to do is just spend a couple of minutes smoothing that down. Let's see if I can get you on camera, and really I just want to refine that down a little bit more so that it's less of a clear line, and it becomes sort of more as it merges into each other, if that makes any kind of sense. You find the front here is a little bit, it's protruding a little bit for my liking, so I'm just going to come down here, straight cut up to where the chin is. Again, that's going to help us define our shirt, and then just helping blend that jacket into where it joins the neck. And again, if you do something like this, and this often happens, if you get a little curl that gets caught up on the neck there, just use your knife on the line of the neck just to separate it, and then carry on. There we go, so we have reduced that down a little bit. We've got the little guy's face on, the head is nice and smooth, and what you can do is you can go around the back of the head here and start smoothing down where we've got sort of very crisp defined lines. So really what I'm looking to do is round this off, so that the head doesn't have any kind of really kind of obvious lines where we've been carving previously. And again, spend as much or as little time as you like on this. Underneath the chin here, you'll probably be able to see we've got quite a few little bits where our knife has left marks. You can sort of shave these down a little bit. Let's have a look. You can clean this up, and really I wasn't going to bother showing too much of this, but while I'm here I may as well do a little bit. And a lot of this will be covered, as I say, when I come to paint, but it's worth showing you just so you know what it is to do. Right then guys, well this little chap is now almost finished. I've done a few little more finishing cuts, just defined him round a little bit again. And I think what I'm going to do between now and the next episode, I'm not going to do any more carving on him on camera. All I'm going to be doing is a few more cleaning up and finishing cuts. I might pare down the back of the legs a little bit so they meet with the shoes a bit better. But all in all, this guy is now pretty much ready for painting. Now I think I've said it before, but I'm not the most artistic carver in the world. I'm the first to admit that. And to be honest, what I find is that putting a little coat of paint on this guy really helps define and bring out the features, and it really does kind of hide a lot of the fact that I'm not doing a lot of detailed carving. I've seen some really good versions of these from different people, and they can put a lot of fine detail into the clothing, the facial features, those kind of things. It's something I'm still fairly new at and I'm still working on, so for the time being I'm doing those kind of features with paint instead, and I'll share that with you on the next episode. So I hope it was useful guys. Comments and questions in the box below. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Cheers guys.